welcome everyone to the second week of the weekly online league. Happy to be here again. Last week was very fun. This week I'm joined by Blue. How are you doing tonight, Blue?
I'm doing swell. Glad to be back. And if you don't know me already, I'm Blue. I'm here to provide the viewers the most amazing commentary with you and Drak here, as well as the most obliterating, distressing, gut-wrenching, extremely upsetting, and all the other ings I'm missing, but most importantly, absolutely devastating analysis that you have ever heard. And I just want to remind everyone that as long as I preface with whatever I say with all due respect, that I can't be held accountable for whatever I say next. It's in the Geneva Convention. I don't actually believe that's a reference.
I don't know if that's actually true, but
Anyways, back to you, Boots. Go ahead.
And we're also joined by a third commentator this time. Happy to have another person joining in on the fun. How are you doing tonight, Drak?
I'm doing really good. I'm really excited to be here. Hoping we get to see some good games and have some good conversations.
Yeah. Let me, as the facilitator, I will say I'm not here to give commentary. I'm here to facilitate and hopefully help lead the commentary, but they know the meta and the tournament scene a lot better than I do. That's why I asked them to join. But I will say this, as the person responsible for the actions of whoever I bring on, it's never about the person. It's always about the meta. It's always about the deck. It's always about the cards. Please try not to construe what we're saying as commentary on the players. The players are trying their best. I hope that they're having a good time. That's all I want. I want them to play the decks they want to play. You could play the worst deck in the universe. You could play the best deck in the universe. Just have fun. There's literally no stakes to these weekly online leagues. It's all for fun.
I think a couple digital packs, but that's about it.
Yeah,
Print on demand isn't even a thing.
yeah, it'll be okay. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what we're expecting before we go into it. My pride. Okay, for me, there's no stakes because I have no pride. I'm the least confident person in the universe. So last week the final match was Finn versus Waru, but we did see a fairly diverse pool of heroes in the top 16. Actually leaning pretty heavily Finn. What are you guys thinking? Like, do you think we'll see kind of the same thing? Do you think we'll see people branching out even more? Do you think we'll see a retraction and go back to the top 4 Waru that we had the first week? Drak, let's start with you.
Well, perfect timing. I kind of just finished my my top 8 deck list. And so for the top 8, we had I want to say like 3 Waru, sorry, not even Waru, 3 Ordis, 3 Fen, and 2 Muna, 1 Tasia, 1 Rin. And then top 16, you got a couple more Fen, a couple Traced. I didn't really look as closely into the bottom 8 of the top 16. In general, also in last tournament, you just had a lot more people trying to make Tasia good, and pop off, and we saw Gary do pretty well, taking Tasia to third place. So I expect a little more Ordis. I'd like to see more Axiom. I'd like to see a little bit more Ysmir. I think those are both decks that are just underrepresented currently. But other than that, I do expect, Ordis, probably Waru, maybe a couple Sigismar, definitely some more Fen decks. It's going to be interesting to see if we have the wave of Tasia players that we did last time.
Yeah.
Blue, what do you think?
One word for all of you: bravos.
We're waiting.
We need it back. I'm a big fan of Ysmir. I'm a big fan of a lot of other factions, but we need a top whatever Bravos. Just get in there. We've seen everything else. They need to get in there. We'll see some spicy picks. I know once we get to the matches, we can take a look at everything. I know for a fact, based off of sources, that we're going to see some Lindaway that from previous top 8 players. that didn't play it last time, so should be very interesting.
Welcome to the final match of the second week of the Altered Weekly Online League. We've got Afanas versus Waru. Looks like the camera is working. We're gonna go. Actually, yeah, we're gonna go to the Matrix for a second. Apologies.
Into the Matrix once again, ladies and gentlemen. We've
Boom.
taken both pills 3 times.
All right.
We have an off you go from Afanas,
To it.
clearing the board from the attorney that was played.
What a great play.
Yeah.
And I bet you he has a 1 cost here. Does he have a 1 cost? No, he
No,
doesn't. Unfortunate.
no, but still, denying Waru that turn 1 is
Just solid.
probably important.
Just solid.
I think that we actually like Afanas Senka Waru. If you watch my video with Exalt Skycrier and his Afanas, he talks about how he really likes the matchup. And even though he has some nuts spindle harvesters in Ysmir, you too can play Afanas and beat Waru. Believe.
For sure. One more technical difficulty. I should have done this already, but
We have a
gotta-
Thoth slept by Waru.
all right. It's live. It's never gonna be smooth. Double progression for Afanas because of the asleep Thoth.
Yeah. We also have another Ordis token getting created because of it.
Yep.
Can always think positively. At least it wasn't the rare Thoth.
I don't think we've seen the rare Thoth at all tonight.
Oh really?
Yep.
I don't think so.
Also, top 8 last week, it was only Sigismar that I believe was running it. None of both Waru decks were running the common.
Interesting. I typically like running at least 1 rare Thoth just to potentially have that. Like it's a fun turn 1 play, where you get 3 tokens on turn 2, technically.
Yeah.
So
That's just really solid.
So you're basically stacked almost at a 3/3/3 on both expeditions if you want to. So. But
that looks like a
obviously-
Hathor in reserve
Yeah.
from Afanas. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I gotta. I'm not seeing any complaints from Shy here as far as initial hand draw, being able to off you go, get Hathor out, and then pick it up immediately.
Yeah.
They are throwing the Legate out to potentially ruin whatever play he puts out next, though. But he could always off you go it, I guess, but he's probably not going to do that because he could just play it right out again.
Interesting. I would have expected the support ability, kind of like we just mentioned, to put the off go back in the hand. Potentially another play in mind.
I think he's trying to double progress. That's what I'd be doing in this situation if I had characters in hand, personally.
Yeah, that's a pretty good teamwork training from the Waru.
Solid.
Yeah.
Probably shut down Shy at this point. We got card draw.
Just drawing cards, gonna let them double progress, keep the expedition even. I think if they could have progressed on one side or even double progressed, if they could have figured out how, that would have been like pretty big.
I mean, I think actually seeing that Aether, they were probably just going to double boost
Yeah.
and at least progress on one side. But it's tied right now.
Definitely.
Card advantage, which is solid and
Yep.
needed at this point.
Yeah, definitely. At least in terms of like advancement, a little bit more even than the Waru versus Finn match from last week. That one there was like a kind of clear advancement from one player more often.
Mm,
This is, they're keeping pace so far on day 2. Got an asleep Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl. So
You're braver
all
than
big-
me. I would just typically say quits. So
I think
Bro,
I
like,
got it like 90%.
Yeah, I butchered that so many times last night. I think each list that I reviewed has a different pronunciation of that card, but moving forward, it's gonna be called Quetz.
Yeah, that's smart. Hey, you covered your bases. That's all anyone can expect.
Yeah.
Got some thinking from the Afanas player.
gotta imagine he's thinking to take the hero side at some point here.
Drawing more cards. Boosting.
Don't think he wants to give up the sabotage to the Legat. I imagine he still wants to recycle that off you go if possible. The issue is when he does draw, he does give the Quetz the free recruit, so
Yeah, I'm a little worried about their cards in hand if that was the move.
I'm thinking it was probably just a safety after you to see if they can play something here. But or it could just be they didn't have anything in hand like you mentioned. But
Yeah.
hopefully it's the former rather than the latter.
Yeah. This looks really interesting. Depending on what Shy has in hand. I kind of wish Spectator you could see hand, not gonna lie.
Yeah. I get why you can't just from like a
Especially since this is live.
yeah, just in case people, I don't think anyone would, but just in case people like glance at the stream and then play the person in the next match or something. So although I'm sure that happens, but
There's ways around it, I'm sure, if they wanted to set it up, but I don't think BGA is going to be specifically going to set up closed spectating sessions where you can view everything because they know you're not trying to cheat.
yeah. This feels like an important day, like kind of
Yep, tied right now.
okay.
We have a helping hand.
Double boost to the Tooth Fairy. So I think that might confirm my position, my suspicion that maybe they don't have another character in hand.
Yeah.
Or at least some type of answer. Unfortunately, I'm sure they would have liked another off you go in hand.
Yeah.
To knock one of those quests off the board, especially since he's gonna turn into 3 tokens here at the start of the game with the draw, and then Waru's ability. So looking prime for a 2-0 for the Waru here.
Indeed. 4/4/4 on each side for start. The third one's coming out, right?
He is low on hand advantage, so it will be important to see what happens there.
Yeah. So I believe I'm correct, but they're gonna get 2 more or 1 more Ordis recruit.
Yeah, 1 more for Waru ability. The 2 just came up on the draw. So
5/5/5 4/4/4.
6/5/6. Nope, 4/4/4.
If
they put it to sleep.
If the Afanas has a 1-cost card in hand, then that would be a good time to play it. Sneezer Shroom will work.
Yeah. This
Sneezer Shroom indeed.
7/6/7.
So he's gonna lose a card here in the reserve. It just depends on what does he value more. I assume it's gonna have to be the left side because he doesn't know what's in the middle tumult, and maybe he doesn't want to get on that single mountain on the companion side, but It'll be interesting to see what his play is, because he pretty much just has a free play at this point until the end of the day.
Yeah.
Could get that.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying we could get that sneezer boosted to 3/3/3.
Yeah.
Then we just need something in hand that has 3 in mountain or water to progress on that side. Which is going to be interesting.
I think that this has been a good example of Waru.
Or maybe off you go, the
Yeah.
Quets.
I mean, if they have off you go in hand, maybe 2 to make it cheaper. But I think this is a good example, and like I'm knocking on wood because it might, what I'm about to say, it might change slightly. But they haven't played Robin Hood as far as I remember, and like they're still kind of controlling the board just by the sheer number of characters they can produce. So looks like we got a 3/3/3, and then we got a 3 in mountain. So we're gonna see
mountain indeed.
progression
Mountain
for
in
both.
Gotta imagine he's gonna lose the off you go here. Or maybe the Hathor to prevent the off you go return and make him spend 4 mana on the off you go. I think I
Yeah,
would go Hathor.
yeah, I think that's what I would do. Yeah,
Yeah.
make it more expensive, lose the stats. It seems like the play.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough no matter what here for the Afanas player. 2 Legats out, you're probably gonna lose at least 1 card in your reserve after this turn, and I have to imagine at least 1 Quetz is gonna be on the board, so you're still gonna be dealing with multiple recruits. Imagine if Waru got a token for each bureaucrat. That'd be
That
fun.
would be.
That'd be nuts. I thought that's how it worked at first. First time I read the card, I was like, "No way, man! No way!" Nah, it's just once, and I was like, "All right,
the
this
designers
game
controlled
is
themselves.
saved."
The designers controlled themselves. We're
I
good.
mean, so here's the thing, or make just the power creep all that level. That would kind of be fun in a way too.
Yeah. Now it looks like we got a sabotage to one of the Quets. I'll join in on the name.
It's so much easier, man. Yeah, so at least best case scenario, 1 Quetz out for Guy. Two, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 5, 5, 5. Shy still has 6 mana. Potentially, like, I don't think he does, but if he had a character in hand, dropped it right side, Kellen Burst. It'd have to be a big character.
Yeah, I really like that trooper play. It's basically an after you on the Ordis side of things.
Yeah.
Knowing that he only has 1 card in hand and 1 card in reserve, he's making him use something here.
Alright, we're
It'll
going.
be interesting to see what he does here. I assume the Legat, but who knows?
For the off you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Ordis Trooper is the off you go. Or the after you, rather. Stargazer is a little bit the after you.
Yeah.
And Martingale. I feel like the after you or the pseudo after you is just like such a clutch play for like the mid-range player and the control player, just in general, and like a new thought process to this game.
Yeah, definitely.
Legat for sabotage.
So, putting to sleep the Quets. And then, okay, so
Jesus.
putting them all to sleep. Okay, so kind of banking on
Next turn.
Which
Double progression next turn. Solid play.
Yeah, it's not a bad plan because you can kind of see all the characters that are still in expeditions as if they were characters in their hand. So, and they were free.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, with that many characters on the board, with having a 1 cost in reserve, and also not choosing not to mana here, I have to imagine the Waru's pushing for a 2-0, and there's
Yeah.
not many outs for the Afanas. I don't know if they're running a Kraken's Wrath. Even that won't be able to get everything. So it'll be interesting to see what he drew.
A very
Indeed.
even match in terms of expedition. This feels like a match where the players are kind of not letting, but kind of accepting the other person's going to advance to do something the next day, which is something that I'm sure players have been doing the whole night, but it's a little hard to notice, and I feel like it's easy to notice in this match that they're sort of like planning for the next day in the game.
Well, I think Waru wants to do that just in general,
Yeah.
but like also just keeping pacing is more important than completely preventing.
Yep.
647 and 777 with Shy only having 212 in companions.
He's digging. He's digging
He's
with those
digging.
bottles. He's
Yeah.
trying to find something.
It is.
And there's the
He
charge.
is.
Charge is rough. I could be remembering wrong, even though we're watching it right now, but I also believe that we saw no uniques this match.
So far, no.
And I'll say it. This is maybe one of the craziest Waru board states I've seen.
Yeah. 10, 8, 11, 13, 13, 13.
All right. That's a very good job to Supreme. That was the final match for week 2 of the Altered Weekly Online League. Also, I just realized I didn't change the date. That's fine though. Technical difficulties. But yeah, what did you think of like the whole event, Drak?
It was really solid. It was really solid. So what I guess what I thought was week 1 was the pre-league, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so from pre-league to week 1 having, 3 characters, different characters, top 3. Week 4 or sorry, all confused. Week 2 week 2 having 4 characters just in the top 4, really solid. To see Ysmir, which I think there was like a 16th, 15th, or 14th place last week, maybe 13th, somewhere like bottom 16. Ysmir player, but to see that just climb and to kind of see multiple heroes, multiple factions continuing to climb, has just been really solid. Really nice that a lot of Tasia is still being pushed. The Bravos players we saw were doing their darndest to try. That splash of Gulgrong was really nice to kind of also see. Also, definitely very interesting to just kind of sit back from playing and just focusing on like the commentary and joining that kind of side of things has been a refreshing kind of look into the scene right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you missed the middle part of the event, Blue, but do you have any thoughts on what you kind of saw at the beginning and at the end? And then we'll go into the final match talk.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just to start off, we got to see a lot of interesting matchups. We got to see a finals repeat in the second round, even. And it was a close match in general, with Jackman pulling out the win over Pluka. It looks like Pluka ended up sweeping the rest of the matches anyway and going to a strong 5-1 and making the top 6 there. So it's it's nice to see some consistency from the top players, but it's also nice seeing the new people, seeing the Afanas. I've gained a new appreciation for the character in general after talking to some folks about it. Always been a big Ysmir fan in general, more on the Akesha side of things, but past that is just cool seeing a variety of things, seeing Bravos win a little bit, even though I don't think we got anyone very high up the rankings that are Bravos. Still waiting for that
Maybe
Itzadi
next week.
savior. Yeah, waiting for the Itzadi savior to bring us to the promised land.
Yeah.
But if we don't, we don't. But we still got plenty of time, and it's great to see the turnout that we're getting for these weekly events. I know I was worried at
Yeah.
one point. I'm like, oh, there's hardly anyone 2 days ago,
It's
but
like all the
we
day.
ended up getting. Yeah, we all get up to 67. So shout out to Simon for keeping this going, keeping the promotion and marketing going, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
been
For
it
sure.
fun.
literally went from 36 this morning to 67
Yeah.
in so I'm gonna say that was like up posted around like 10 12 10 a.m. Eastern.
Yep.
So
It's cool to see.
9 hours
Yep.
across the world. Like, big shout out to the AWOL community. Like, without you, this couldn't be happening. And like I was saying earlier, this is a meta determining event. I don't remember if it was Spooks or Blue that mentioned it, but like, people from the Gamers Guild, making changes based off of AWOL, like, we're a voice,
Yeah.
and it's just it's just a solid tournament scene as well.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much to Simon for organizing the events. They're fun to do commentary, they're fun to watch, and I'm sure they're super
They're
fun
fun to
for all the
play in.
players. Yeah, like it's just a good time. So let's talk about the final match a little bit, and I'm gonna talk for a second first, and then I'll give you guys the floor. I want to mention that the player who won is in chat right now, and they did confirm they have no uniques and no Robin Hoods in their Waru list. I I want that to be in the YouTube video so that people can see that you actually don't need Robin Hood to do well in Ordis. One, a game you didn't find any. Same thing. You didn't play any. And it was honestly the most impressive Waru board state I've seen, and we've watched a lot of Waru. Afanas was also very impressive. I'm kind of leaning towards they just weren't drawing the cards they needed. Um, Okay, they confirm. They have uniques. They have Robin Hoods. They didn't see any, so my point still stands. Um, but what did you guys think? I want to ask a specific question because I was kind of thinking about it the whole match. On day 2 or 3, they had the off you go in reserve and the Hathor to put it back into their hand, and they chose to play the Hathor, and they lost both sides anyway. In retrospect, do you think you would have put the off you go into your hand?
I mean, from my end, uh, and this is just from a perspective, I don't really play Afanas, but it seems that it probably wouldn't have mattered, just how the day kind of turned out in general. If you look at the final board state, it seems that. So the nice thing about Off You Go is that you can return it to your hand. You can play it for 2 costs. It's efficient. It's probably one of the more efficient removals in the game. But the issue when you know that's the play and your opponent knows that's the play, um, they probably have an answer in most cases. And it seemed like the Afanis was having issues basically keeping the hand advantage where you would typically see more so from a Ysmir player to beat out any faction realistically. So I don't know how much it would have made a difference. It definitely would be interesting to see how it could have turned out. But I think at the end of the day, they obviously made the correct play and just couldn't turn
So,
it up.
so I think the reason that happened, and this was kind of like confirmed throughout the match, right? Like as it progressed, I don't think they had another character at that point in time.
Yeah, I think you're
I
right.
I think they literally had like all spells or whatever. And so I think they were going for the hopes of putting that on board, and then being able to boost enough, um, to at least progress in that expedition. But I think there was some sort of like sabotage, I believe, with one of these spells. So that maybe made the difference right there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what we saw as the match progressed. That they just
No, we just had
kind of
removal. We
yeah
had
they
we
had
had
removal.
removal.
Yeah,
We
they had
they had
removal.
removal because you saw the next play was the double draw,
Yeah,
right? So that would have been 2 boosts on that, and I think they were hoping to draw into like something else to give either another character, or another body, or go from there.
yeah, for sure. No, and Kellan just confirmed that yeah they thought they were playing Hathor as kind of like a last move. So they fired the teamwork training. There's going to be an ad in like 2 seconds, but we'll keep talking because they can hear my voice. So kind of like that was a very specific part of the match, but in general, how did you feel about the like Afanas going into the Waru? Do you think with some more practice and maybe some card tweaks, it could overtake it?
I think it
I
has
mean,
the
I think,
potential
yeah, go
for
ahead.
sure. Sorry. I think it has the potential for sure. Um, but it's how much do you fine tune into one deck? I don't know if the Afanas player had all the cards necessarily, all the rares that they might want, all the exact uniques yet within their collection. Um, but like I think Ysmir and Afanas in general just has enough low bodies with that additional boost effect, with the low cost removals, with the recursion of like on the go, or sorry, off you go, right? Like it just has a controlled play style to, I believe, at least consistently win one side. Um, and like if you and with enough delay to counterplay um Ordis like wanting to not progress on a side, especially with Waru to a degree. Um, have I seen that list yet? No. But like someday I definitely think it has that potential. And like that list could be tweaked and constructed within a couple weeks.
Yeah. Blue, what do you think? Oh, looks like we maybe lost your audio.
Okay,
Oh,
can
no,
you hear me now?
yeah, we're good. Where's my
Yep.
camera?
Okay, yeah. If we're talking about meta decks that are capable of competing consistently, I think Afanas has proven that it can. And if we're talking about meta decks that can play against Waru, I think Afanas is probably one of the better ones to do that, that have both consistency and a decent matchup. I mean, I think Finn has proven that it can as well, and the reason why we have seen a lot of Finn, especially last week, I think. Um, but I think people are tinkering enough with the Afanis and realizing that they can um, have a decent matchup, if not a better than 50-50 matchup against Waru if they play things correctly, and if they have the right uniques, and if they have a lot of different things, right? I think Waru is still more consistent overall, but I don't think the matchup's horrible. I think it's definitely doable. I think in the situation of a best of 3, we might see a different result sometimes. Um,
Yeah.
the combination of the control that Ysmir has, the ability to play anchored characters with the out of faction Muna characters, I think is helpful because it kind of keeps pace with the Waru tokens and the Waru sleeping, while also being able to advance on that same turn. Um, I've spoken to some players where they actually really like the Tasia Muna matchup into Waru, and it seems like you can have the best of both worlds with a Ysmir character like Afanas, and then get boosts on top of it, right? So,
Yeah.
with that being said, I think it's definitely probably one of the better matchups as far as things in the meta. I've heard that the Atsadi matchup into Waru is actually really good, but the idea of making it through a Swiss as an Atsadi is probably not that high, unless you run into Waru a bunch and you play it well every single time. But with the meta decks available, I think that's one of those ones that's high up there. And I'm also like looking through the top 6 and everything. We did get a Tasia in there, so I'm happy to see Tasia make it up. I know we've had a few Rin and Orchids in previous weeks.
Yep.
So seeing Tasia make it up is pretty cool in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you both for joining again, by the way. This is, we're going to call it here for this part of the stream and for the commentary. I want to thank everyone in chat for joining and talking so much and helping us do commentary and helping us remember what cards were played. It is hard to keep track of everything.
It was amazing. It was
Thank you
amazing.
for
It was
being here.
amazing being here. Chat was amazing. I heard the comment. I do kind of like spooks and the boops.
Yeah.
I also did like spookers.
Yeah. I know Drak, you mentioned to me before stream that you recently started your YouTube channel. Where can people find you?
So that's gonna be just at Draken 666, 2Ks, DRAKKEN 666.
Awesome. And I think your first video came out or is coming out very soon.
Nope. So I posted that last night. I set myself a deadline. I said I'm gonna get week 2, which was apparently week 1. So apologies for that.
It's
But
okay.
week 2, I'm gonna still call it week 2. Maybe this week will be the real week 2 top 8. And that'll be a joke for the people that watch this stream. But gonna be doing like top 8 deck lists, maybe with a little bit more commentary and interactions. Also plan to be playing some games and maybe posting deck lists or maybe just random compilations of couple decks I'm working on as YouTubes. And maybe if I'm feeling really spicy, some off content, league content.
All right, cool. So everybody check out Drak's content. And Blue, you technically plugged yourself, but I would like you to plug yourself again. Where can people find you?
You know, Spooks, I don't mind talking about myself even more, so I appreciate that. YouTube.com/@BlueOakTV. The Angers review that I did last week did great. Probably my best video on this new channel. So thanks everyone that watched it. Recently released a interview with Exalt Skycrier, the Afanas player that made top 8 at that event, and I have 2 more interviews with players from the Angers event, a top 16 Sigismar, and the second place Waru, who ended up losing in the finals, Nadir. And then I was also lucky enough to grab the finalist and runner-up for the Gamers Guild event in Arizona, Isis, playing Waru Mack as well. That was definitely an interesting call, gave me a lot of insight on other characters that they believe are good matchups into Waru, and even we're planning on playing a little secret into the video, Rin and Orchid going into the Gamers Guild event instead of the Waru and Mac. So quite fun. Check it out when it comes out. Should be out next week, but in the meantime, watch the Skycrier video. Thanks for having me on, and kisses.
Yeah, thank you both so much. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, thanks again to everyone who joined. I'm gonna take my quick break now and switch to the rest of my stream. But I hope everyone has a good night if you don't stick around. I don't know if I'll be doing these every week because it's like a lot of work and mental load to do it every week, but definitely every month, maybe every other week or something, I'll figure out my own schedule and I'll keep inviting guests and returning guests, and we'll just keep having a good time. There's a cat in front of me. But yeah, thanks again to both of you. I can't wait to watch all your videos, and everyone please go watch the video of the final match from this event will go up tomorrow if I can get it edited, and I probably will. But thanks again, and I hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you for having us. Great being here.